Have you ever had a conversation that seemed completely normal, but hours later, your mind still couldn't stop replaying it? At first, you try to ignore it, but then your thoughts slowly return to the same moment. The same words, the same tone, the same expressions on their face. And suddenly, a simple conversation turns into something much heavier inside your mind. You start wondering if you sounded awkward, if you said too much, if there was something hidden behind the way they responded. And the more you think about it, the more uncomfortable it becomes. What's strange is that this doesn't happen with everyone. There are people you can talk to naturally, without replaying anything afterward. Around them, your mind feels calm. But with certain people, it's different. Your mind stays stuck on the interaction long after it's over. And usually, there's a reason for that. Most of the time, overthinking after talking to someone is not caused by the conversation itself, but by how that person makes you feel during it. Some people create a sense of emotional safety. You feel accepted around them, even when you're imperfect. But other people create tension, even in subtle ways. Maybe they respond inconsistently. Maybe their reactions are hard to read. Maybe they make you feel like you have to earn their approval. So while the conversation is happening, part of your mind is no longer focused on connection. Instead, it becomes focused on self-protection. And because your mind stays alert the entire time, it doesn't fully relax even after the conversation ends. That's why the interaction keeps replaying later. Your brain is still trying to figure out whether you were rejected, understood, or judged. This becomes even stronger when you deeply care about how someone sees you. The more emotionally important a person feels, the more power their opinion tends to have over your thoughts. And when that happens, even small interactions start carrying emotional weight. A delayed reply feels personal. A dry response feels meaningful. A small change in tone suddenly feels important. Not because those things always mean something, but because your mind has become emotionally attached to the outcome of the interaction. Sometimes this pattern begins much earlier in life. If someone grew up constantly worrying about criticism or emotional unpredictability, their brain learns to stay alert around people. It becomes used to analyzing reactions and searching for signs of disapproval. Over time, this creates a habit of overthinking social interactions. The mind starts treating conversations like problems that need to be reviewed afterward. And honestly, it's exhausting. Because instead of simply experiencing a moment and moving on, your brain keeps pulling you back into it. But here's something important that many people don't realize. Overthinking is not always a sign that something is wrong with you. Sometimes, it's a sign that you don't feel emotionally safe around certain people. Your mind reacts differently depending on the energy of the connection. That's why you can spend hours with one person and feel peaceful afterward, while a short conversation with someone else leaves you mentally drained for the rest of the day. Your nervous system notices things your conscious mind often ignores. It notices tension, uncertainty, judgment, and emotional inconsistency. And when those things are present, your brain keeps searching for clarity long after the interaction ends. But constantly replaying conversations rarely gives peace. Most of the time, it only creates more doubt. Because when emotions are involved, the mind doesn't search for truth objectively. It searches through fear, insecurity, and assumptions. That's why overthinking often creates problems that were never actually there. And eventually, you reach a point where you have to ask yourself an important question. Are you overthinking because you genuinely made a mistake, or because you are too afraid of being misunderstood? There's a difference. One comes from growth, the other comes from anxiety. And learning that difference changes the way you see yourself. Not every awkward pause means rejection. Not every short reply means dislike. And not every conversation needs to be analyzed for hidden meaning. Sometimes people are distracted. Sometimes they are tired. And sometimes your mind is simply carrying more fear than the moment actually deserves. The healthiest connections are usually the ones where your mind feels quiet afterward. You don't leave wondering if you were enough. You don't replay every sentence before sleeping. You simply feel accepted. And once you experience that kind of peace, you begin to realize something important. The problem is not always that you think too much. Sometimes, you're just around people who make you question yourself too often. And the more emotionally safe your connections become, the quieter your mind slowly gets.